Hi, and welcome to More Than a Lumpy Jumper, the seasonal bonus shorts. This week, we're talking about the importance of play and rest. We've got the usual gifts, from Lego to wisdom from St. Brené Brown. So come and join us for Cultivating Play and Rest, but mostly play.
Hello everybody, it's Bobby and Bridge again with More Than a Lumpy Jumper, one of our little Christmas gift editions. And today we wanted to talk to you about play and play being more than fun. So when we did centering last week, we gave some gifts, some ideas for helping you over the Christmas period, and we're hoping that this one on Play today will be similar. So I'll start straight out that with one of my gifts that I wanted to offer is the book The Gifts of Imperfection by Brené Brown. Brené Brown. Many of you will already be in knowledge of Brené. All hail to the Bren. But I think that The Gifts of Imperfection, I hadn't realised this until I re-looked at it because it's a book I have had for years and have read more than once. But it is actually, at the moment, the 10th anniversary edition. This book has been out for 10 years and still seems as relevant now as it did all that time ago, because I think I may well have been an incredibly early adopter. And there's a couple of things within this, because I don't know about you, Bridget, but I have been an English graduate as well. You had to read books from chapter 1 to the end. And I've been learning more recently that actually you don't really need to read a book like that. Of course, you have to read some books like that. But when you come across a book like The Gifts of Imperfection and other such books that are there to help you with your self-care or whatever it might be, that you can sort of like read in a new way and dip in and out of it. So when I went in to dip in and out of The Gifts of Imperfection, what you've got is 10 guideposts for wholehearted living. And number 7 is cultivating play and rest, which is why I thought that it might be an idea for us to talk about play over the holiday season, and that play is not just for children. So that's how I got into it.
I loved this. So when you came up with this title, I loved it. One, because as I say again, I'm doing this amazing course at the moment at UCD on creativity and leadership. We do a lot of play during our designing and during our sort of things to inspire us. And so I found a little quote from Plato. It may be that Plato didn't say this at all, so take it with a pinch of salt. I'm going to assume that Plato said this. And he probably said it in Latin, not in English, but I'm going to say it in English because I can't say it in Latin. I might be able to, but only if someone translates it for me. You can learn more from an hour of play than you can from an hour of conversation. And so while I know that you're going to go in a little bit on some of the importance of rest as well from St. Brené's pillars, where what I've been looking at over the last sort of few weeks is this idea of playing to create and playing to solve problems. And so this is my first little gift is Lego's serious play. And Lego have found ways of doing team building and change management, all kinds of things in business with using Lego. And so my gift will be the link to the website. You can sign up to their newsletter to get lots of inspiration. And they've got resources. And one of them is their 6-minute creative problem solving template. And they do it through. And what I love about the idea of play to solve problems in terms of leadership is that it democratizes insights, inputs and collaborations, contributions, because people feel that they can contribute because it's actually not real, it's playing, right? And there's no hierarchy in play, or there shouldn't be, in terms of that everyone gets a little bit of an input. So that's why play is more than fun. I mean, it is fun, but you can use play for all kinds of things. So that was my first little take on it.
Yeah, and I'm just going to riff off that because I'll give you my other little gift, which is Dr. Stuart Brown's TED Talk on play. And what he's saying in all of this is that humour, games, what he refers to as like rough housing,
Oh,
British bulldog, that sort of stuff. Or let's make it a little bit gentler, pillow fighting or water fighting, things like that. He also talks about flirtation and fantasy as well, which I thought started to getting us onto a completely different track, but keeping it in the play mode. But his premise is that plenty of play in childhood makes for happy, smart adults. And I completely agree. I completely agree. And the fact that I say we, you and I definitely have not taken it out of our vocabulary or activity, but many, many adults do.
yeah.
And yet I love nothing more than a water fight, fancy dress, messing around is my favourite pastime. It's such a level of release and just really good. And I completely agree with you that I think it aids learning. When we spoke last week about those multi-generational Christmases that a lot of people, may well be having or whatever, I'll be there playing with my grandson's new toys.
Is he going to be allowed to play with them?
No, not until I have. But it was a bit like my brother. I love you, Jono. My brother will tell you he used to get Lego every Christmas and had to go off almost into hiding to be allowed to make it himself, because I would get hold of it and say, let me help, which meant let me do it for you.
Oh, Jono.
So I know he's had a lot to put up with in his life.
Yeah.
So the whole Lego thing is a real thing for me. I won't be allowed to go full on fancy dress, but there will be,
What?
the silly. Well, I might be able to do it by myself, but I just look a bit ridiculous. The hats.
I ever stopped you?
I know. I don't know. Even as it came out of my mouth, I wondered why I was saying it. But also the Christmas silly glasses, the hats, playing games. I just love it. So there will be play in our house, and all adults are expected to participate wholly.
I think that Christmas, though, or this time of year, whether you celebrate Christmas or not, it is particularly a time where you have permission to play. And so it is for those people who do miss play in their lives. And I know that there are many people who, have said, God, it's the first time I've done this for such a long time, when we've been doing our little exercises with Lego or whatever random pieces of paper we've been given, is that this is the time when you have permission to play. And that's why I think if you're not going to do it now, then and you don't really get any other opportunities. So take the advantage, even if it's like baby steps into playfulness. Yeah, my final little gift is one of the things that we've been looking at is design thinking. And while that's been completely alien to me, not really how I have looked at things, but it's become more apparent that design thinking applies to not just creating clever cars or space rockets or whatever, or AI, but also all kinds of things. And, there are a number of processes for design thinking, which is to gather insights, to frame the problem, ideate, prototype, and test. And things like ideation and prototyping and testing are all quite, for me, can be quite playful. And so taking this idea of design thinking, there's a book by Bill Burnett and Dave Evans called Designing Your Life, How to Build a Well-Lived, Joyful Life. And it applies design thinking to creating the life that you want, a well-lived life. I like that concept. They also have a book that applies to careers, building a career, but this is the one that, for me, a well-lived life is the thing that I certainly would aspire to.
I love that. I really love that. And we're almost able to come full circle on the Brené Brown book, because one of the other things that I was going to talk about was the business about cultivating play and rest, because play can be restful, because it has you easing up on stuff, doing things that you wouldn't normally be doing. And she talks about digging deep, and how do you dig deep? And dig is, I'm afraid to say, another acronym, but it's get deliberate, get inspired, get going. So she talks about the fact of having a joy and meaning list rather than a to-do list, or in fact, have the joy and meaning list and then put it up against your to-do list and see what you're actually doing which would bring joy and bring meaning? Because there's a lot of things on my to-do list that will clearly not do that, and I would imagine that you might be the same. So that's the first thing for the getting deliberate about the things that you really want to love doing, and adding play and rest into that. She talks about Dr. Stuart Brown, this TED talk I've just talked about, which is definitely worth a listen. And then the get going is that, you know, for her in this chapter, she says, no, say no and go and take a nap.
That's why I love her.
You know?
I have to say, napping is one of my favourite things to do.
So that whilst, you know, there'll be a lot of people go, oh, yeah, but she says things that are blindingly obvious. Well, they're not if you're not doing them.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about it. She's so practical. It's the simple things that make it wholehearted, all the way that you describe it in the book. Those words about meaning.
Yeah, well-lived life.
Well-lived, and she uses wholehearted. I think that's cool.
Awesome. Right then.
Is that all of our gifts? That's all of our
to
gifts.
Christmas.
We are nearly there. The question is, has anyone heard Wham yet? I'm going to keep saying it. I heard it last Christmas, but not this Christmas, so I'm still in the competition.
All right then.
People won't know what I'm talking about. Bye.
Thank you all for listening. The links to the gifts are on the More Than a Lumpy Jumper website or on the Spotify podcast page. We hope you enjoy them, and they encourage more playfulness. Next week, we'll be talking about curiosity in our bonus episode, Constantly Curious. See you then.